Hello friends, welcome to Mahipal Reddy's GK host. Myself Prithviraj Reddy. Let us discuss current affairs with MCQs. Okay, coming to the first one, May 25th is celebrated as World Thyroid Day, Missing Children Day, World Commonwealth Day. Which of the above statement is true? Actually, the World Commonwealth Day is celebrated on 24th May. Okay, if we eliminate this option, so what are the correct answers? That is 1 and 2, that is C. Okay, so coming to the background, World Thyroid Day, it is observed across the world on May 25th to create an awareness about importance of thyroid and educate about the prevention and treatment of the thyroid related diseases. Okay, basically thyroid is an important gland in the human body because it maintains the basic metabolic rate. Okay, so its healthy status is very important for a functional body. Okay, so first thyroid day was observed on 25th May 2008. And what is the theme? Mother baby iodine. So it emphasizes the importance of the iodine on the women and her body. Basically the pregnant ladies require very healthy status of the thyroid and its hormones. Okay, so for that reason the theme emphasizes the women health. And who launched this particular day? This is launched by host of thyroid associations, European Thyroid Association, American Thyroid Association, Asia and Oceania Thyroid Association, Latin American Thyroid Society. These all came to an agreement and they have launched this particular day. So International Thyroid Week is observed on the 4th week of the May. So this must be remembered. Okay. Then coming to the International Missing Children Day. So it is observed to create an awareness regarding the child abduction and educating the parents, because how the children will be abducted, how to safeguard the children. This is what the day which educates the parents. Especially this was launched in the America by the President of America, whose name is Ronald Reagan, in the year 1983. Okay, and the theme is Forget Me Not Flower. Okay, so this is what the theme of May 25th. And coming to the next current affair, CBI comes under which of the following ministry? There are 4 options given: Ministry of Home Affairs, Department of Personnel and Training, Ministry of Defense, and none of the above. These are the 4 options. So what is the right option here? It is the Department of Personnel and Training. Okay, let us learn how it is. Actually, we are discussing this particular question in the context of the appointment of the new CBI director. Okay, so who is the new CBI director? Subodh Kumar Jaiswal. And the CBI is run through the enactment called Delhi Police Special Establishment Act of 1946. Okay, and the Director General is appointed as per the section 4A of DPSC. And this particular CBI works under the administrative control of the Department of Personnel and Training. Okay, it enjoys autonomy, but at the same time its administrative mechanism is controlled by the DOPT, which is under the Prime Minister himself. And initially this particular DOPT was not the controlling agency, rather it was under the Minister of Home Affairs. And the next question is whether the CBI is a statutory body or executive body. Basically, it was formed by the executive resolution and it does not have a specific legislation or specific statute or specific act. Rather, it sources its powers from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act of 1946. That is the reason why it is called executive body, not the statutory body. You must remember this. Okay, question may come, CBI, whether the CBI is statutory body or executive body. It is purely executive body, but it sources its powers from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act. And moreover, it provides assistance to the Lokpal, which is the ombudsman, okay, in the India for in the corruption matters at the central level, and the Central Vigilance Commission. These both agencies enjoy the supervision over the CBI as far as the corruption cases are concerned and the investigation is concerned. And the Delhi Police Special Establishment Act was amended in the year 2013. Basically, who appoints, if a question arises, who appoints the CBI director? So the answer would come from the Delhi Special Police Establishment Act, which was amended in the year 2013. So according to it, the Prime Minister, LOP, Leader of Opposition, and CJ form a committee. This would, and it means these three dignitaries are the members of a committee, and this committee would decide the appointment of the CBI director. But after 2014 elections, Congress party could not stand as a opposition party. It means any party to get an opposition leader, it must secure at least 10% of the seats in the Lok Sabha. Okay, so unfortunately, Congress party did not secure the required strength. So that's the reason why it does not qualify to be the member of this particular committee, the leader of the Congress party, especially. So that's the reason why the act was amended to give the membership to the leader of the largest political party. So in that way, Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury became the member of the committee which has selected this particular CBI director. Okay, so along with the Narendra Modi, Justice N.V. Ramana, this Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury also became a member of that particular committee. And what is the tenure of the CBI director? It is 2 years, which is fixed by the Central Vigilance Commission Act of 2003. It means CBI is actually controlled by 3 legislations. One is Delhi Special Police Establishment Act of 1946 and Lokpal Act, as well as this particular CVC Act. You must remember these 3 pieces of legislations. Next important question. BioHub is an initiative of 4 agencies are given: UNO, ILO, WHO, CDC. So you can easily guess it is none other than World Health Organization. How it is, let us discuss. Basically, this BioHub initiative is an initiative of World Health Organization in Switzerland. So what this BioHub initiative? So recently we have observed regarding the COVID-19 pandemic, there was no sufficient cooperation across the laboratories in the world. So basically, in order to have a proper cooperation between 2 countries, usually bilateral agreements will be there, bilateral relations will be there. So this cannot really help the research to be conducted across the global level. So that's why there must be a platform, a common platform for all the countries to approach for the information relating to the new pathogens which are attacking the human beings. So that's the reason why WHO and Switzerland have launched this particular BioHub initiative, which will allow the pathogen sharing between the labs and facilitate the analysis and preparedness against them, so that entire globe, entire world will be prepared to fight against any upcoming global pandemic. So this is what the BioHub initiative. Okay, so BioHub initiative is launched by the World Health Organization as well as the government of Switzerland. Coming to the next question, Vandan Vikas Kendra is implemented by which of the following agencies? Vandan Vikas Kendra. So what is the answer? So there are 3 answers especially are given: Niti Aayog, NABARD, and TRIFED. Okay, so the answer is D, both A and C. NABARD is not the agency. Let us understand how it is. Actually, Vandan Yojana, under this particular scheme, the Vandan Vikas Kendra are actually set up. This is actually implemented by both Niti Aayog as well as the TRIFED. Okay, Niti Aayog and TRIFED. So these are the 2 agencies implement this particular Vandan Yojana. So under this particular scheme, there are 39 aspirational districts were recognized and identified by the Niti Aayog. In those 39 districts only, this particular scheme is implemented. And under this particular scheme, Vandan Vikas Kendra are set up. What are these Kendras? Basically, in the tribal areas, the tribal people dependent upon the forest for their livelihood. In the forest, what they would collect? They collect minor forest produce. The minor forest produce is in the form of the honey, tendu leaves, tamarind, etc. So there are various forms of the minor forest produce. Without cutting the trees, they will enjoy the benefits of the forest. But these are having a lot of demand in the market. But unfortunately, lack of the branding, lack of the marketing access. Okay, so their MFP is not getting the adequate pricing in the market. So in order to increase their livelihood value, so this particular Vandan Vikas Kendra are set up. These are the agencies which will help out the tribals in order to get their goods processed and branded. Okay, so that they will get the right price in the market. So this will definitely boost the employment of 2 lakh tribal families. Okay, so almost all 2 lakh tribal families are going to benefited by this particular tribal, that is Vandan Vikas Kendras. That is, the scheme is called Vandan Yojana. Okay, under the Vandan Yojana, Vandan Vikas Kendra to be set up. Okay, so what is TriFed? TriFed means Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India, which works under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So who is the MD of TriFed? Praveer Krishna is the head MD of the TriFed, which works under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Coming to the next question, which of the following state attracted highest share of the FDI? Very, very important question. Okay, so there are 4 options given: Maharashtra, Karnataka, Telangana, and Gujarat. Okay, you can easily guess it is the state of Gujarat, because there is news regarding India's new record in attracting the foreign direct investments. So according to the Ministry of Commerce and Industry, the FDI inflow, okay, registered 10% higher than the previous year. So currently the FDI inflow in India is standing at the $81 billion, $81.72 billion. So it is 10% higher than the previous year. Okay, despite the pandemic, India is becoming the major global destination for the foreign direct investments. Okay, so the top investor is Singapore. It is investing 29% in India. Actually, if you try to take India's complete FDI is 100%, 29% is coming from Singapore, 23% is coming from United States of America, and Mauritius takes a share of 9%. So in India, in the year 2020, Saudi Arabia was the top investor, but this time the first place is taken over by Singapore. Okay, then, so what are the sectors which have attracted major share of the foreign direct investments? So first place goes to computer software and hardware, which is standing at the 44%. Construction infrastructure activities, it is taking a 13% and taking the second place, and the third place goes to the service sector. It is 8%. Okay, so this is what the share of the foreign direct investments across the major sectors. And coming to the question, top recipient states. What are the top recipient states? Gujarat is standing at the first position by attracting 37% of the foreign direct investments that have flowed to India. Very much important thing is Gujarat is standing at the top place for the 4th consecutive year. We can understand how Gujarat is attracting the foreign direct investments. And coming to the second position, which is occupied by Maharashtra, so which has attracted 27% of the foreign direct investments, and Karnataka is at the 13%. Okay, this is what the important information regarding the top recipient states of the foreign direct investment. And coming to a very, very important issue, because question may come from this area, Himanta Biswa Sharma, you know, he is the CM of Assam, recently elected. He is also president of Badminton Association of India, and recently he also elected to Badminton World Federation Council for 4 years. He will be holding that position for 4 years. He became a member of that particular Badminton World Federation Council. Let us learn what is Badminton World Federation Council. So it is a governing body for the badminton, and it is recognized by International Olympic Committee. It was founded in the year 1934, which is headquartered in Kuala Lumpur of Malaysia. And the president of this particular Badminton World Federation is Paul Erik Hoyer Larsen. He elected without any opposition. By the unanimous way, he got elected to the present position, that is the president of the Badminton World Federation. Coming to the next important sport news, Indian shuttlers to qualify for the Para Olympics of Tokyo Olympics. So two women sports person, their name is Palak Kohli and Parul Parmar. So these are the first para shuttlers to qualify for the Tokyo Para Olympics. And especially Palak Kohli she is the youngest para shuttler to get qualified this particular Para Olympics of Tokyo, and she ranked at number 11. Okay, and this particular pair, that is both Palak Kohli and Parul Parmar, presently ranking at 6th position. So this is what the information. And next important thing related to environment is cheetah is to be reintroduced into India in the Kuno National Park. Where it is located? It is located in the state of Madhya Pradesh. Okay. So what is the present status of the cheetah in India? It is extincted. Basically, it got extincted in the year 1947 in the state of Chhattisgarh. Okay. So now it is in the extincted status. So that's the reason why this particular cheetah is going to be reintroduced from Africa. So there are two countries from Africa. One is Namibia and second one is the South Africa, from where this particular cheetah is going to be introduced into India. Okay. And this is done under the project Cheetah. So especially in the year 2020, January, Supreme Court had appointed 3-membered committee to supervise this particular reintroduction process. And this particular reintroduction is done under the supervision of the Wildlife Institute of India, which is headquartered in Dehradun of Uttarakhand. And the current chairman of the Wildlife Institute of India is R.C. Gupta, basically the secretary of the Ministry of Environment and Forest as well as Climate Change. So the secretary of that particular ministry automatically acts as the chairman of this particular Wildlife Institute of India. And as I told you, Kuno National Park is located in Madhya Pradesh. Next important thing, DD Marcopus Wiki Funky. So it is a new plant which is also called African violet plant. Okay, so it has been discovered in the state of Mizoram. Okay, so and moreover, you must understand this is a plant which actually grows from the western Himalayas to the Sumatra island. So the long stretch of this eastern India and eastern part of Asia houses this particular plant. And who recognized, who identified, or who discovered this particular plant? Researchers from the Indian Institute of Science and Education and Research, Pune. Okay, so this particular plant was discovered in the state of Mizoram. Okay, it is a new species of African violet plant. Okay, then so coming to another important aspect related to this particular state of West Bengal. There are 3 schemes have been launched in the state of West Bengal. So one scheme is Lakshmi Bhandar project. Just a second. One scheme is Lakshmi Bhandar project. So under this Lakshmi Bhandar project, so it is a basic income scheme which is given to households, especially to the female heads. So 500 rupees is given for the family of the general category, and 1000 rupees are given to the families of SC and STs. So especially this particular money is given only to the female heads of the family. And coming to next scheme, Student Credit Card Initiative. Student Credit Card Initiative. So under this particular scheme, 10 lakh rupees are given as educational loan. Educational loan at the interest of just 4% per annum. Okay, so this is the second scheme. And thirdly, Dwar Ration. Dwar Ration. So Dwar Ration means, it means the ration will be delivered at the doorsteps of the beneficiaries' families. Okay, so it means 1.5 crore households are going to get benefited by this particular Dwar ration, and the West Bengal government is going to deliver this particular ration at the doorstep of the families. It is already being implemented in the state of Andhra Pradesh also. Okay, so this much issues we have learned today. So in the tomorrow's class, we are going to discuss very interesting for current affairs. Okay, thank you so much.